First, the coronavirus in New South Wales today, 6 new infections. But, you know, Sydney is open, there's people shopping, sitting in cafes, life going on. Meanwhile, in Victoria today, also 6 new infections. But there, Melbourne is shut down, restaurants shut, almost no shoppers in the street. I mean, this idiocy has to end. I mean, people are really hurting. And look at today's unemployment figures, up again, 6.9% officially. Actually, it's much more than that. High unemployment in every state, and while Victoria looks not too bad in comparison, 6.7% unemployment, check the underemployed, as in people who are wanting more work. They've only got an hour or two, or they're paid by JobKeeper to essentially do nothing. Nearly 15%. That means together 1 in 5 workers in Victoria either have no job or not enough work, or just make work. I've been, you know, blue in the face, and you're probably sick of me saying it. I've said it since March. But it should now be crystal clear that fighting this virus with lockdowns is a terrible, terrible, terrible mistake. It's a disaster that's causing more pain than it stops. And this is certainly now, finally, clear even to the World Health Organization.
We really do appeal to all world leaders. Stop using lockdown as your primary control method. Develop better systems for doing it. Work together and learn from each other. But remember, lockdowns just have one consequence that you must never, ever belittle, and that is making poor people an awful lot poorer.
And in Victoria, 500 doctors have now sent another open letter to Premier Daniel Andrews, warning that the Melbourne lockdown, which has gone on for 6 weeks now, in its second time, we had a lockdown before too, is causing severe harm.
I think there's been a massive collateral damage in the health and mental health spaces in particular due to the lockdowns. There are a growing number, a very large number of doctors who are gravely concerned about the impacts of these lockdowns, and we are calling for them to cease. We believe that they are disproportionate and unscientific.
So why a lockdown that experts say is a disaster? Well, it seems to me pretty clear that the Victorian government is just too hopeless, and knows it, too hopeless to trust itself to do the basics, tracking down the sick, quarantining them properly, and protecting the old. So it's panicked and put Melbourne into the longest lockdown in the world. And the Australian Medical Association is now wondering, you know, what's wrong with contact tracing then in Victoria? And why won't the government tell us?
I wrote to the Minister of Health, new Minister of Health in Victoria about 2 weeks ago, seeking a briefing on their contact tracing mechanisms. To date, I haven't received a response, and I've made several follow-up phone calls and without any reply. So it seems to me that they're, again, not being especially transparent about what they're attempting to do.
There is something very rotten in the state of Victoria, particularly with the government there. And as I said last night, there's now a rebellion, and not just from citizens who refuse to take it anymore, refuse to be banned from meeting friends, openly risking arrest. The small business people are now placing full-page ads attacking the lockdowns, and at least 3 class actions have been lodged demanding compensation for the damage done. And one prominent hotel owner is now taking the government to the High Court to challenge the validity of the lockdown. Now, if the court agrees that this is a disproportionate attack on our freedom, the government could be in huge trouble. The compensation bills alone could be staggering. One shop owner has decided on even more direct action. Peaceful. He's putting himself right out there. Harry Hutchinson runs a menswear store called Harry's Clothing. It's in Berwick, south of Melbourne. And this week, he reopened his store, damned the ban on retail shops. He's defying the $10,000 fine for breaking these crazy lockdown rules. And of course, the police were there to threaten him.
Right, you obviously know why we're here.
Yes, I do know why you're here, and you've got to do your job.
Right. So very simple. I'll just let you know you don't have to say or do anything. Anything you say or do may be recorded and given in evidence.
Yeah, sure.
Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Just want to ask you what your reason is for breaching the Chief Health Officer's directive.
Easy. To survive.
Right. I'm going to have to go higher up with this anyway,
yeah, sure,
just before we start issuing out any
Yeah,
penalty notices. You know, they're obviously quite significant amounts.
Can you believe it? The danger of that store opening is about zero. If it insists on face masks, hand sanitisers, and doesn't let people crowd, you know, hugger-mugger in. Do you know how many people are sick in the suburb where that shop is? Just one. So, if that one person is such a menace to the community, just go send those police outside that person's door to stop infecting people. Send the police to that sick person's door, not inside Harry's store. Keep the sick in quarantine and let the healthy work. These lockdowns are insane. Now, more people realise that now, but how much more damage will politicians like Victoria's stubborn, authoritarian and secretive Premier Daniel Andrews do before they admit they were wrong? So terribly wrong.